So today, the Trump administration fired hundreds of Federal Aviation Administration employees. A functioning Democratic Party would be putting out ads of planes nosediving and blaming the Trump administration. But we'll get to like how Hakeem Jeffries can't even call on Eric Adams to resign, maybe later in the show. But
this is what it's like to run a country like a business.
Yeah, right.
And business leaders are psychopaths that actually don't know how to create things. People who actually create things are people who work and are being laid off.
It's an efficiency model that has already been failing our air safety. Employees that are set to be fired are probationary employees, but they are really important for air traffic control infrastructure. They're not the air traffic controllers yet, but those have been in short supply for years. The air traffic controllers have been raising alarm about being overworked and understaffed and all of the safety concerns that come from it. And in reality, this is not about government efficiency or cutting costs. This is to benefit one man. I bring you this article from Politico right after the election that just within the first 3 paragraphs accurately summarizes Elon Musk's beef with the FAA. The Federal Aviation Administration has spent years tangling with Musk's SpaceX for violations related to its operations, including multiple incidents when the company launched rockets without approval. During the past year, the agency proposed fining SpaceX $633,000 and for twice using plans the agency had not greenlighted, and forced the company to idle its launch pads in Texas for months because of a pending Fish and Wildlife Services review.
Good.
And go fast, break things Musk has responded with scorched earth. He used his social media megaphone to threaten and to sue the agency for regulatory overreach, accused it of politically motivated behavior, taunted the FAA with crude humor, and poked at the agency's rules, which he says moved too slowly to meet his goal of getting human civilization to Mars. I mean, this is a lunatic. But, you know, he's also saying this kind of thing because acting like you have these lofty ambitions is a great way to cover for the fact that you're just like a petty little man who is going after the FAA over a $633K fine when you're the richest billionaire. This gives you, world's richest man, this gives you an indication of how petty these guys are, how sociopathic you have to be to accumulate this kind of wealth. Because that $633,000, oh well, he's going to teach us all a lesson and deregulate our air spaces because he wants to shoot his toys into space, into our atmosphere where it could fall on top of us whenever he wants. And so because he doesn't get to shoot his toys into space where they could fall on top of us whenever he wants our air traffic to be much less safe. He wants to punish the agency, and Donald Trump is all on board with it. I mean, all they do is fly private. They may not have to worry about this in the same way that we do. But let's watch Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, endorse Elon Musk's efforts over the weekend, calling him a revolutionary. What's incredible about this is he's endorsing the destruction of his own branch of government, which is supposed to have the power of the purse, and going on his knees and saying, Elon Musk, here you go, take all of my power.
You say revolutionary. Like, what is a revolution? It's when the order, the who controls power is changed. And Mike Johnson, if he's the revolutionary, you're the one who's being usurped, you idiot. What's the point of having y'all if we're just going to let the big billionaire who's a friend with the executive do everything?
Here he is on with Mark Levin explaining why this is a great thing.
I want to ask you another question related to Elon Musk. They turn him into this boogeyman. Why do you think they love multi-billionaire George Soros, who has used the various instrumentalities of the government to acquire radio stations?
All right, hold on. Okay. So Elon Musk, they're about to do a whataboutism. This is a Republican staple in order to obscure the fact that even if you want to go apples to apples, Elon Musk buying the top journalistic communications platform, Twitter, and trying to enshittificate it and turn it into a bank.
Being offered Twitch or TikTok, sorry.
Yeah, and has had already more of an effect than what he's describing about Soros. But if George Soros was brought in as an unelected billionaire to tinker with the Treasury and cut government agencies under the Biden administration, we would be raising hell about it. That's not what's happening. All right, start from the beginning.
I want to ask you another question related to Elon Musk. They turn him into this boogeyman. Why do you think they love multi-billionaire George Soros, who has used the various instrumentalities of the government to acquire radio stations, who spends tens of billions of dollars throughout the years, he and his son, to influence our government, to insinuate themselves in governmental decisions, to elect prosecutors who refuse to prosecute and so forth? That's their sugar daddy. That's their guy. But when it comes to Elon Musk, they want him criminally investigated. They believe he doesn't have any role in anything and so forth and so on. Do you see this as complete hypocrisy?
Complete hypocrisy. And what Elon is doing is heroic. You used the word in the opening monologue. Exactly right. This is an heroic effort. He is bringing common sense and transparency and sunlight to the federal government, to the bureaucracy, to what many of us refer to as the deep state. And this is what he and I were talking about.
All right. We're just going to take this piece by piece. The transparency. All of this is publicly available. Because the government doesn't run as a corporation, how we tax and spend our money is listed and is publicly available. Particularly in this instance, Congress has the power of the purse. It's signed into law by the president. And because of the Constitution, but reiterated in the Impoundment Control Act of 1974, it is abundantly clear that once Congress decides to spend this money, the president does not have the legal authority to say, I'm not going to do so, let alone an unelected billionaire who's just strolling into the Treasury and asking for all of our information. Keep going.
On Monday night at his office, I said, Elon, I am so excited about what you are doing, what you are uncovering. I said, you think of this as a scientist and a data analyst. I think of it as a constitutional law attorney and historian. Elon, what we are going to be able to do through this effort is restore the original intent of the framers of the Constitution. What they had in mind is a small federal government that was closely monitored and had heavy oversight by the duly elected representatives of the people. The challenge we've had here in recent decades is that members of Congress, these representatives, have not been able to do that job well. The oversight job has been hindered because the deep state and the bureaucracy has not turned over the data. They wouldn't give us the information we were seeking.
So why'd you pass the bill?
This because it was hidden.
The data, dude. This is supposedly your responsibility. I mean, I'm being redundant here. Go back just like 10 seconds because I want to hear how this supposed constitutional scholar uses the fact that his power is being currently usurped by the man's richest person. Like, why even have congressional representation if their job is just completely secondary?
Why would they negotiate bills?
Right. You know why? When that data that he's referring to comes out in the wash is when they're doing these negotiations. He knows he's lying. Keep going.
We've had here in recent decades is that members of Congress, these representatives, have not been able to do that job well. The oversight job has been hindered because the deep state and the bureaucracy has not turned over the data. They wouldn't give us the information we were seeking. We didn't know all this because
why
it was
pass
hidden.
the bill?
Now Elon has cracked the code. He is on the inside of the belly of the beast, Mark, and he is unveiling and revealing all these things that we knew intuitively were happening, but we didn't have the evidence. This is a game changer. It is truly revolutionary, and we're going to restore, ultimately, through this process, the federal government to the original intent of the founders. And that's what has the big government, socialist, liberals, and Democrat Party apoplectic because they're afraid of what the final result of this is going to be. And it's very exciting for the people.
You're so right. If you love the country, you love the Constitution, you love small R republicanism, you're cheering these guys on. Mr. Speaker, thanks.
Sure. Well, it is revealing at the very least. Elon Musk tweeted this earlier this morning or late last night. I don't know. Responding to Secretary Sean Duffy of the air traffic control here, transportation secretary. He says below, the safety of air travel, if we could just scroll, Bradley. The safety of air travel is a nonpartisan matter. SpaceX engineers will help make air travel safer. So this is the end game, putting his own cronies at the FAA because they dared to levy, never know which is the right way to say it, a $633,000 fine against SpaceX and probably some other burdensome regulations for the man-baby billionaire who wants to basically have no rules by evil daddy government.
And no investigation. Somebody just got smacked by a self-driving car to death in Arizona. That was going to be a National Highway Traffic Safety Administration investigation. This is a power grab by a guy who needs to be, like Bill Burr said, put down like a rabid dog.
I mean, like, that's such a great point about, oh gosh, what did you just say?
National Highway.
Yeah. This came out, it was a study in one of those trade publications. It didn't get a ton of press, but that the Cybertruck is infinitely more deadly than the Ford Pinto.
Who could have thought?
And the way that Mike Johnson talks about algorithms, like, he's an 80-year-old, as if you're just trying to fool your voters into thinking you're smart, like the government is run on an algorithm. They're spreadsheets, idiot. You've gone over the budget. That's a part of your negotiation process. He knows that he's lying, but you could just say algorithm and people go, ooh, it's like God. It's like, spirituality. It's mystified. No, these are just the tabulation of how our government spends its money after Congress allocates it. They have not produced one piece of evidence about the fraud and abuse that they're talking about, except to point to publicly available data that we already have.
Yeah, this is just Twitter files for the government, a big show where they purport to have done some sort of revolutionary transparency, but it's all bullshit, fluffed up by bot journalists. And they're just, it's very obvious, I think, what we're seeing.
But I'm very terrified about air safety right now. I mean, to have this be the reaction to these really horrifying incidents of plane crashes should really freak people out. Our air traffic controllers and those systems were already at a breaking point. And now the Trump administration is choosing to make their jobs harder. Why? Because the billionaire daddy oligarch wants his buddies at the FAA as opposed to career public servants.
And more money for capitalists to play with so they don't have to get taxed for, when really we are massively not investing in the right things. Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, all these billionaires have way too much money, and we're cutting to the bone things like not even schools. We've just been cutting schools to the bone for decades, but air traffic safety, this is psychopathy, but it's what you would expect from a corporate class. I saw Mark Cuban saying, hey, we got to be smart and we should actually go look at it. You cannot trust a single one of these people. Billionaires need to be kicked out. We need to get rid of them before this decade's over.
Yes. And if I'm concerned
Soros
about
included.
Our inability. Right. Exactly. I'm concerned about our ability to faithfully execute an election for the presidency in, less than 4 years. But if we elect somebody who's a Democrat, they have to come in and act as with the same urgency that Donald Trump is acting, except in the reverse, to go after the billionaires in an aggressive way that targets their wealth and makes it impossible for this to happen again, redistribute it, and make it so that we can permanently safeguard our regulatory agencies from this happening again, because this is doing untold damage.
Hey folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.